Okay. So, today we are joined by, well, I will let you introduce yourself. Please,
Okay.
can you tell me your name, your occupation, your years of service in your occupation, and what is your favorite quote in education?
My name is Bryan Ringgold. I am the Black Student Achievement Liaison with Oakland Mills High School. I guess I kind of paused with that because there's been some question as to the title, whether the title would change, how the title was being identified now. I think as we're going through some challenges in our society at this time. I've been now with the school system for 16 years. This is my 16th year this year. A quote that stands out to me. Frederick Douglass said, "It's easier to raise strong boys than it is to repair broken men."
I have that quote. I have a poster of that in my office.
Mhm.
Yes.
Also, there's a quote from Sidney Poitier. When you find someone walking, you can either align with their pace or start a new one.
I like
And
that one.
what that meant for me is where someone else is, you can try to bring them to where you are or try to meet them where they
I like it. Like it. So, okay. So you say you've been with the school system for about 16
are.
years. What initially brought you into education?
I never wanted to be in education. I
I'm
really
sensing a theme here. A lot of people, no, I'm joking. No, no. Okay. All right. So you
um,
didn't initially, but what happened?
my family and I, we live in Baltimore. My wife had pointed out to me at that time, I was working with what seemed to be every young man, but every child in my neighborhood and the neighboring neighborhoods that we had. I was looking at when everyone was getting their report cards, their intern reports, progress reports, anything from school. I was checking in with the kids. I knew the kids who had the older cousin who was the primary drug dealer in the area. I knew the kids who were being arrested the most. I knew the cops that were coming in the area. My wife pulled me aside one time and she said, "Look, why don't you look into going into teaching, going into the school system? This way you can still pursue what your passion is," which really was acting at the time because I was still auditioning and still jumping out, still going to New York, still going to the West Coast. But she said, if you do that, you can still have time during the summer to still focus on that, still write, still audition, and still work with the kids. When I got into it, that was the initial onset of me trying to get into it and trying to expand on what I was doing in the neighborhood.
Gotcha. And my assumption is that when you first got into it, because you were saying initially that wasn't the goal. My assumption is that you didn't see yourself 16 years later
No,
still in education.
when I first applied to get into it, my thought was, let me just get my foot in the door. What I really looked at educationally was there's a film called Dead Poet Society. In Dead Poet Society, Robert Williams plays a teacher whose focus is to take these young men. So they're the boys' school, but you want to take these young men and prepare them hard, prepare them with love, prepare them with courage, and I guess in my idea of how I could reach, how I could teach, and how I could build some structure with not just young men but with students, I wanted to do that, but I didn't want to break away. I didn't want to just be strictly structured on someone else's guideline for how something needs to be taught. There's a million different ways to teach somebody something, so it's not always the right way as long as I'm getting them to understand.
Okay. So identify your why. Why do you continue to do every single day? We all wake up and we identify our why, right? And that why could be a variety of reasons. It could
Yeah,
be purpose driven, it could be financially driven, it could be religious driven,
it's not
whatever it might
financially
be.
driven.
You know, listen,
Financially
we all get an education for the
driven.
money. Come on now. No, so
Nah,
identify your why. Why do you continue to do what you do?
I wake up every morning and honestly say I love what I do. When I make mistakes, I still say I love what I do. When I've been cussed out from students, excuse me, from parents, I still say I love what I do. I love what I do because in the end of it, I'm a part of changing someone's life. When it really comes down to someone graduating, someone may get an A on a paper, someone may get into a certain college. I just talked to a young man last week who let me know that he's now working with a elevator repair. He's now getting into elevators and working on elevator repairs. We had talked about that when he was in school. Now he's doing it seriously. So it's the idea that I have of being a part of someone's life changing for the better because of the immediacy that I get to be.
I like that. I like that. Right, just helping to
That's
improve for someone else.
Mhm.
Right, helping them so that they can pursue their goals as well.
yes.
So was there a particular moment? Was there a particular year? When do you feel like you fell in love with the profession? If at all, maybe you haven't fallen in love with it just yet, but do you feel like there was a particular moment where you're like, yo, I love what I do?
I don't know that I fell in love with the profession. I fell in love with the ability uh, to do things. I think to do things different. I think the ability to go ahead and say, if I can introduce someone to a different sport, if I can introduce someone to it. I have a young lady 5 years ago. She earned a full ride to University of Toronto. I started a program when I was at Wild Lake High School called Why Not Me? The purpose of Why Not Me was to give some question, but also some identity to students of color who were not being recognized or who did not see themselves going into upper level challenging classes. The point that I bring this up for, I had bracelets that were made to say Why Not Me? Shirts that also say Why Not Me? Giving her one, she and I talked. She got the college scholarship. She got accepted. She was born in Kenya. She had traveled to here from 6 different previous countries. And she had reached out to me one day after school and she said, you know what? When I was looking at my college opportunities, this was the only one that I had that was a full ride. And I looked over at the bracelet that I had on and said, why not me? And I thought, why don't I do this? Why don't I try this? Why don't I see what else it can lead to? And that's what she did. And for me, that spoke volumes about her taking a chance on her and me making sure that we take chances to invest into them so that they believe in the chances that they can take themselves.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, just really just showing kids like to just pour into themselves. That's extremely important. It's extremely important. So while there are those moments,
Yes.
right? Those are the moments of where we fall in love and we realize like, okay, you know what? I'm actually making a difference. I'm helping out. We fall in love with the profession. On the other hand, there's also what may have been a moment that made you question the profession, or what made you maybe even doubt yourself, if anything.
It's actually a lot of moments. It's a few times where I've gone home and thought to myself, am I doing the right thing? And not always, am I doing the right thing for someone else? Am I doing the right thing for me and my family? Moments where I had students, last year was a really rough year. Last school year was a really rough year. I had 4 student funerals in a span of 3 months. That experience made me wonder, am I doing enough? What else can I do? And previous to that, having students who I worked tirelessly and very close with. One young lady, I had her really 15 years ago. To this day, still has not received her high school diploma. She's in the state of Florida. I know where she is. I know she's alive. I don't know what else may be going on. There are moments where, excuse me, I've also been able to work with county police, county kidnaps, county unsolved. Sometimes it's a matter of, it's not for me to have the right answer. It's not for me to have the end story, but if I'm a part of it, am I a part of the solution or am I just a part of the trail?
Part of the trail. I like the way you put that.
I really want to make sure that in everything that I am trying to do, I'm starting at being solution based. I don't just want to be a connected dot that's on a fallen story.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I feel like at some point or another, we all go through that,
Yeah.
right? Of that questioning of not necessarily am I in the way, but am I just another motion for the students to go through, or am I actually benefiting and helping the students? No, I got you. Well, in those moments, I have found it's important to have a mentor. Do you have a mentor in your role that keeps you uplifted? If so, who are they and why are they your mentor?
I do not have a mentor, to be very honest. I remember my very first year, I had a teacher that I was working with who I knew him through my church. No names, but at this time I can tell you that he's deceased. He passed away. One day we were talking after school, and for me being who I am, I ask a lot of questions. I'm very inquisitive. As he and I were talking, he stopped me and said, "Hey, you're asking too much. You're trying to do too much." He said, "Just fall back. That's not going to happen." The fact that I've held on to that for as long as I have made me realize there are some people that are going to work in education that are going to have kind of a stop plate, and there are going to be some that will work in education that want to continue to either knock down walls or open doors or just blow off the whole building and build a whole new infrastructure that looks nothing like what was laid out before. I want to do that.
Okay.
I've had some people that I've worked with. I have a great team that I work with. So in terms of the Black Student Achievement Liaison, I have a great team that I work with. I have a great team of individuals or people who I work with. I do not have and it's valuable to have it, and I can see why it's valuable to have it. I'm a mentor to others. I should have a mentor.
Who's taking care of the person taking care of everybody, right? So I don't know. I mean, but no, that's real, right? So the whole purpose of all of this, right, is not necessarily just have the stock answers, right? It's more so of, I mean, it's real, right? Some people have mentors, some people don't. Some people, again, that goes back to what I was saying, like identifying your why. Some people, their why is, there's a variety of reasons as to why people do what they do. So, all right, well, how has your work style evolved? So think back to Bryan Ringgold 16 years ago. Bryan Ringgold 16 years ago, year one, walking in the building versus Bryan Ringgold right now, the man sitting in front of me. How has your work style evolved and changed from then to now?
I cannot save everyone. My first year, my first couple of days felt like I was introduced as the Black Messiah being brought in to try to save everyone. Mr. Ringgold, I got this black boy over here. Mr. Ringgold, I got this black boy over here. Mr. Ringgold, this black girl doesn't know how to talk to people. And finally, I had to start realizing at some point I need to make a connection with the child, but I also need to make a different type of generational connection with the adults. So I think for me in the beginning, it was that kind of, can I save everyone? Does everyone need to be saved? Can I get them over here? Can I get them over there? I'm not taking you home like a lost puppy, but I got to get something going for you. Now I realize as I've grown, I think it's more of what's the end solution? What are we going to do? What are you ready to do? Because it's not about what I can do. Who else is in your circle? Because it cannot just be me. So I think it's more of an expanded reach, not just an intentional individual. But everything I do is with intention. Nothing that I do is with malicious intent to go ahead and change anyone. But sometimes there's going to be some hurt. There's going to be some mental harm because of how uncomfortable it is to go through that growth. And that both goes for the adult and for the child.
Okay. So speaking of, I guess, with the children, what is something over the course of your career you have learned about yourself through the kids?
The kids let me know that I do care. The kids let me know they trust me to show up for them, not just advocate for them, but also I try to be clear. Hey, you give me a base, I'll be there to support it. If you're not going to give me a base, and I can show you how to make a base, then we can do that. But if you're not going to give me a base, and you're not giving me anything to support. Well, something that stands out as you're asking me this. Yesterday, I was a part of facilitating what's called Welcome Home. One of the adults that I had in the building happened to be a former student, and he was able to participate with us for the first time. He said at the end, and he wrote me a thank you card, but he said at the end, he's very thankful for the time that he had with me in his building. He said, me being the Black man that I was in his building made him see that he could do things different, made him see that he could want things a little bit different. And he told all the other high school students, he said, if I could show you then how I was and now what I'm doing, the reason I'm even in the school system, the reason I even have this position, the reason I want to do these things is because of that man.
It's good. That's good. Is there and you were, I don't know if it's going to be exactly what it is that you just said or for something else, but was there a defining moment in your role that you'll never forget? And I'm sure over the course of 16 years, there's several, right? But if you could pick one,
I will never forget. I had a young lady who was a very, very, very talented dancer. I was going to take advantage of connections that I had and get her an audition with Alvin Ailey, School of Dance. I sat her down one day to let her know what we were doing. She looked at me and she said, I need to tell you something. I said, okay. She let me know that she was pregnant. And that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to make sure she had the baby. She had the child. She had asked that my wife and I would be the godparents. I declined. I said, I'll still be around, but let me not have that closeness. Her son is doing very well. She's a mom of 3 now. The beginning when I first, and this is why it sticks out. The beginning when I first met her and the first couple of months, I realized her reading level was really, really weak. Had her tested. She was on a 3rd grade level. Her graduating high school, her doing all of the things that she has done since high school, including being a mom, including traveling, just all the things that she has done. That's one of the things that has stood out to me. There's been a lot. It's hard to pinpoint just one.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what I'm saying, right? It's over 16 years. You have interactions with all these different families and students and staff members and different buildings, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes it's hard to just pinpoint one, but sometimes we have that moment that just changes our perspective on things or whatever it might be. And I didn't know if we had one, but I mean you have plenty, right? It's hard to just nail it down to one. Even if you talk just for 1 year, you'll still have a lifetime worth of stories.
I mean, I'm fortunate to know right now that I have four males at Morehouse College who are on scholarship.
Hey, that's good.
I have one who's at St. Augustine in North Carolina. He's on a full ride. He just pledged.
Okay.
So walking with them through the process of their growth in high school and still being able to be a part of the reach out for them as they continue to get older, I appreciate that. This comes to mind. I have a young man who was married recently. I was able to be at his high school graduation. I was at his college graduation, and I was a part of his wedding.
It's beautiful.
And I was one of his coaches in high school.
It's beautiful.
So that's one of the things that for me, I say this pretty often with the students. I want to be a part of more high school, college, and postgraduate degree graduations. And you know what? If you want to invite me to your wedding, I'll be a part of that. Right. I do not want to be a part of, I don't favor being a part of any more funerals.
Yeah.
So I want to be a part of those things that are pushing, changing, growing, and evolving you in different ways.
So what value do you feel like your role brings to a school community?
My role and me, I think, are different.
Well then, okay, let's break it up then. Let's break it up. I want to hear both. So let's start with your role, but then we'll go to you because I feel like who you are as an individual and what you bring is different, and I feel like that's more important to what we'll not end, but we'll go to that one.
Yeah.
Let's start with your role as BSAP. What value do you feel like that role brings to a school system?
BSAP was initially started with Gloria Washington Wallace in 1986. The intent was to make sure we can bridge a gap for those students who are underserved, Black students who are underserved, or where the gap is between Black students and other students, whites, other counterparts, who are not getting the same access. I think the role itself lends itself to be honest about the concentration of Black youth, where Black youth have been, where we are currently, and where we can go in a unified direction. I'm trying to make sure all that's being brought educationally, being brought in with real consideration about what's needed within the household, what's needed within the school building, what's needed under one roof, how we communicate, what we do for each other, how we can uplift each other, what we listen to with each other, but ultimately how we communicate with each other in and out of school. What directives are we following? What are we making a pathway for with each other, with students especially, going from elementary school all the way up to college or outside of college, if you choose to do something different.
Okay. What value do you feel like you bring to a school? And somewhere in the middle. Like where
Yeah.
do you feel like either the two overlap or where the two differ?
I've always felt like, for one, I was growing up a kid who was moved from Baltimore City to Columbia, who later heard, "You're not black enough. You're not black. You're into other stuff. You're not really into what we're doing." I feel like I bring, no, I don't feel like, I know I bring an intentional intensity. I love what I do. I love working with youth. I do it at my church. I do it here. I'm going to be the one that's going to say, if I'm going to jump out of a plane, I want you to see how you can jump out of a plane. I want you to see we're going to land and we're going to go ahead and take off and do it again. I want to make sure that whatever I tell you, whatever I show you, whatever I'm helping you with is something that I'm willing to also do, which means there's some changes in my life that I need to also put together, that I'm working on as well. The intentional part about me is, I think, the fact that I make myself available to students, and to not just Black students, but to make myself available to a wide variety of just students internationally, which teaches me a lot about the students and a lot about different cultures that you don't always get just from opening a book and reading about it. So being able to speak with students about, hey, let's travel. Let's build this, let's just build this up so that we can travel. What country are we going to? What country are you from? What countries have you visited? What city have you visited? Why are we doing this here? How do we do this better over here? What does this look like? So it's not me just solely giving everything, but I'm also learning from every child that I come into contact with.
Right. Okay. So let's say we got myself, right? And say, you know what? All this sounds great. I want to be a BSAP. What should people know about your position before
Do
going
not
into
go into this for the money. Do not go into this for the money. BSAP now is very different from when I first started 16 years ago. When I was in high school, there was a BSAP kind of club. And really all the Black students that were a part of it, we would meet sometimes after school. We do some things after school. We talk about different activities that we would try to do. We would take field trips. The focus has evolved into now being able to concentrate on students as a whole. Involving yourself in working with a child who you see needs access to it, better attendance. I want your grades to improve. Well, how do they improve? Well, I need to make sure you're a part of this process. It's not just me and your parents coming at you. I want you to be a part of this process. Trying to go ahead and teach a Black child, trying to teach a Black boy, is not going to be the same as me teaching uh, a white boy. I'm not going to do them both the same all the time. There are some things that I need to appreciate differently. Doesn't mean that I don't get to see you different, or see, I get to have them both in the same room, but I appreciate you the same. I may give you different understanding to each of them, and they need that. But I think BSAP right now, 16 years later, has allowed for us to be in more of an adaptive role, so where I can be a combination of a teacher, a counselor, administrator, I also coach. So it's the embodiment kind of everything, while trying to build and not repair immediately. So it's less repairing that has to be done. It's going to still end up happening, because as we become adults, out of this public educational school system, we're jacked up. There's some things that I would love to see. I would love to see change, evolve, improve with public education.
What's the most rewarding part of your job? I feel like you've kind of already hinted towards this.
Mhm.
You've already said this, but I'm gonna ask it again because it's the question that's on the list. What is the most rewarding part of your job?
It's cool that I can say I have two former students who are also BACPs in accounting now. It's rewarding when I see a student fail, now succeed.
Okay.
And it doesn't mean you're succeeding like in somebody else's eyes. You're doing greater than what you thought you could. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I
that.
had a young lady yesterday. She spoke up when I appreciated this. She said, Mr. Ringold, last year when I was doing everything that I didn't need to do, when I was not doing the things that I should be doing, Mr. Ringold was either on my back or was following up with me, but he was always challenging me and made me realize there was so much more that I could be doing and should be doing that now that's what I'm doing.
There's a poem out there. I can't remember. It's like, what do teachers make? I think that's what it's called. And he kind of addresses that, right? Of like, I can make a B plus feel like a slap in the face. I can make a D minus feel like the Congressional Medal of Honor. Like it's not so much about just like what's succeeding or failing
Right.
based on what society says. It's based on for that particular student, right? So, but okay. So, do you feel like the most rewarding parts of your job align with your why? And I know I asked what is your why earlier. We've been talking now for
Yeah.
over 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So but do you feel like the most rewarding part aligns with the why you do what you do?
I feel like it does. I feel
Mhm.
like knowing my why of I don't come in to work to hear any kind of self accolades. I come into work because I want to be a part of somebody's life changing for the better. That's ultimately at the end of the day, at the end of the year, what are we looking at? We're looking at graduation. We're looking at what are your options after you have completed this process.
Mhm.
You're now becoming a young adult. What have you been exposed to that's allowing you to say, I'm either going to be a better human and I want to do this. I'm either going to be a stronger person, stronger man, stronger black man because I was given this opportunity, because I want to do this, or are you giving up? What are you choosing to do? I like being a part of that choice that says, I want to do more. I can do more. I will do more. I believe the why does match up with it
Right.
because that's an everyday thing. And I appreciate that students know that I'm going to hold them accountable to certain things like that. So I hope I'm answering the question right.
No, you answered the question perfectly. You answered perfectly. So okay, so in our role, right, we have what the county made or our district may define as a success or as a failure, right? So that's that on paper. And we just kind of talked about success and failure a second ago, right? How that can be in its own way subjective. What do you define as success in your role? And what do you define as failure in your role? And this is based on your definition. So when you go home at night and you lay down and you're alone with your thoughts, I felt successful today because of blah. I feel like I failed today because of blah. Like, what do you define as success? What do you define as failure?
I want to address failure first.
Okay.
I feel like failure is being stagnant and compromising yourself and being unwilling to change it. Success is difficult for me because at some points in my life, I was always, this is not enough. This is not enough. I need to do more. And I had many around me telling me, stop, you're doing too much. You are doing enough. What others don't understand, I'm not doing enough for me. I can do everything in the world for everyone else, but not doing enough for me. Success, I think, for me, ultimately is it's like freedom. Being able to give myself and my family the choices to have our own options because of decisions that we've made. And limiting our options, sometimes I may get caught up on how that might be not producing all success. I guess it's difficult for me to look at success. It's hard.
I agree. I'm in a similar boat, right? Of success to me looks different than it does to other people, but it looks different because at times I struggle coming up with the definition for success as well. So it's like, I mean, I'm looking right here on the wall, right? Like Kobe Bryant. Like, if you make it to the NBA, the overwhelming majority of people in this world would say you are a success. That ain't enough.
No,
I'm not here just to make it to the NBA.
like I used to. My mom used to always tell me, we're gonna make it. Your name's gonna be in lights. Your name's gonna be in lights. I would look at it in my head. I visualize so much of what I do before it's done. I've rehearsed so much of what thoughts are before they're shared. And that's a part of me pursuing acting for such a long time. It was never for me a fear of failing like an audition or failing being on stage. And I go back to the failure piece. I often feel like we don't fail enough. Honestly, I feel like I haven't failed enough. Feel like I have not tried enough to where I've actually just had to stop and say, I need to take a different direction. There are things that I've done where I've said I need to take a different direction. But when I know that there are others in this world who have worked themselves, Michael Jordan, Prince, Michael Jackson come to mind, Black men who have worked themselves in isolation to get to extreme success for themselves, only to then realize, but that's not what it was really about.
Right. It's the journey.
Yeah.
It's that journey.
So that, like, I really try to make sure that this journey of education, this journey of children, it's not just about being in these four walls. It's not just what comes through the door. It's a journey of being a part of, and again, I go back to how your life is changing. I'm glad I get to be a part of that. And I get to be on kind of the last bite before you take off into this freedom land of figuring yourself out. Whether you go to college, whether you go to trade school, whatever you decide to do, you're leaving here, you're leaving this high school format with some options for your life.
So, well, with them leaving school, now we got to talk about some of the challenges, right? And this kind of goes back to what I was hinting towards before. In your opinion, what is the greatest challenge we face in education today?
There's so much that frustrates me.
There's a lot of challenges that we got, right? A lot of challenges. But if you could think of, I mean, there's not one. I mean, they're all kind of interconnected, right? But what's one of the greatest ones?
I have a book at home called The Smartest Kids in the World and How They Got That Way. And those kids are not in the US. And the intelligence of those children is not focused on the tests that those children can pass in a classroom. I feel like we've gotten away from experiential learning. I don't even know that. I don't want to say gotten away from. I used to say when I became a father, I would love to take my children and just travel the world and let that be their education. Because everything is so cost effective, I think we've gotten away. We're so capitalized. We're so capitalistic. We've gotten away from the understanding of how to be connected people to people. I think there's so much that we can learn from each other. There's so much in that question. There's so much that public education, I feel like, turns itself away from sometimes the external parts of the world. I feel like I'm not answering the question the way I really want to.
No, it's all right.
The way I really need to.
It's all right. I mean, and it's a big question, right? Like, I mean, it's what is the greatest challenge in education? I mean, you can go in any direction you want to with that, really. Like, I mean, there's a lot of problems.
I think one thing, in thinking about that question, one thing that comes to mind is, and I think about me when I say this, what happens to that Black boy who walks out of the room that he sleeps in, walks out of the place where he lives, and does not dream, does not visualize, and he can be blind, but there's still visualization that takes place even if you're blind, but does not have a sense of imagination. And I think when it comes down to it, we've gotten away from a sense of imagination for a lot of children. And we've tried to structure so much of it into what we can align with what we say the world needs. Yeah, it's just yeah.
It's no, that's fine.
I think all the time when I like that little Black boy that was either I was that little Black boy that was always dreaming. I was that little black boy that was like, all right, if somebody can do that, why can't I go a step higher?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why can't I do this? That's what led me to like skydiving.
Yeah.
Like I want to keep going higher. I want to
Yeah.
keep going further.
See, that's that craziness.
See, that's
See, I'm not. See, this is where we go off the rails here. No, no, well, so and this is no, and I don't know where this gentleman is to this day, so I'm not even going to say his name, but I know for me to kind of go back to what you're saying, right? Like that lack of dreaming is kind of one of the issues in education. I know one of the things that brought me into education was I remember I was in 11th grade and I was sitting in my my honors U.S. history class. And I remember the teacher who was up there talking. I felt like he was a good teacher. A bit boring. I ain't gonna lie. It was a bit boring. But I felt like overall he was a good teacher. Now, it could just be I've always loved history, whatever it is. But it's like I remember looking around the room and he's talking about, we were talking about like the Cowboys and Native Americans, right? And like the real history behind that and so on and so forth. I'm into it. I'm engaged because I'm curious. But I do remember he's just lecturing, and I look around the room, and half the class, not even half, the majority of the class is either asleep, not paying attention, whatever. This is pre-cell phone, so it's not even like people on their phones.
Right.
Everybody just,
because you old.
anyway. So nobody's really paying attention. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, man, this is interesting stuff, man. But it's like, it was that moment I had that spark of like, this is interesting, but I understand why nobody's paying attention. I know I could teach this better than him. And it was that moment where that spark for me happened, right? Now, some other people would view that, like a lot of people in my class, of like, this is so boring. I don't really care what's going on right now. No sparks are going off. For me, the spark was really in spite of what was happening in the moment, opposed to what was actually happening. If that makes any sense. I don't know.
That actually, like, I think about that. What got me into coaching? I was running track. I ran track for 3 years in high school. I played football for 1 year. My senior year running track, at one point I came down, I had food poisoning. So I missed 3 days of school. The coach happened to be a teacher in the building. So I come back to school and some of the guys were like, hey, B, you ain't got to come to practice. Coach cut you. Right.
Dang.
So I'm like, what do you mean coach cut me? So I find the coach and I go up to him. I said, hey, he said, yeah, it's good to see you. You can just give me your uniform and stuff. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you quit the team. I've been out of school for 3 days. You're a teacher in the building. You can check the attendance and see what's going on with me. That, for me, has put a dent into why one of the reasons I got into coaching, and one of the reasons why being involved in the school system, I'm so adamant about making sure I know where everyone is and what's going on. I'm not making any assumptions. Yeah. No, but that definitely stood out to me. But I wanted to go back to your point, what you were saying about your history teacher. Because I had two teachers when I was in high school that I believe kind of secured a courage push in me. Two white female teachers, Miss Weiland and Miss Sasser. Miss Weiland was a math teacher. To this day, I do not like math. My father is a math teacher. My father has a math degree from Johns Hopkins University. I wanted nothing to do with math. Miss Weiland would teach math and involve me in such a way that I never feared math. Miss Sasser was my theater teacher in high school. She opened the door for me to get my first paid acting gig, and still is someone that I can use as a go-to, even though she's retired now. And I reached out to her and let her know how valuable and how important she was to me for many reasons. So I just think about, similar to what you were saying, it never clicked in me to say, hey, I can do that too. I wanted to take the gift that I was given, and didn't realize the gift that I had, the gift that I was given, and make sure I could share that in different capacity. And I think sometimes the ability to share it doesn't always mean I take it to hone it, where sometimes we need to hone in on what that gift is before we share it fully.
Right. Well, so you just brought up those teachers from your past, and that's going to lead us to our last question, which is, at some point we walk away from the profession, right? Whether it be we retire or we just decide this is not for us anymore, whatever it might be, right? When that day comes, how would you like for your students to remember you? What legacy would you like to leave with the students that you have worked so diligently for?
Mr. Ringgold was someone that would work tirelessly to pull the extreme worst out of me as well as the extreme best out of me. And I shared with another teacher earlier today, I love animals. So I first wanted to be a veterinarian. Again, wanted nothing to do with education, and I wanted to be an actor. If something were to happen to me, I would love for there to be a scholarship that's given to a student that wants to pursue theater or film, as well as a student that wants to pursue medicine or being a pre-vet or a veterinarian degree. And that I would love for that to happen.
All right. Well, Mr. Ringgold, we appreciate your time so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I hope I was able to answer some of the questions simply.
No, this was good, and I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, just as far as it's like, there's a questions that I ask, right? But a lot of this is really just the opportunity for people to get to know these people who, when people think about education, we have teacher appreciation, we do all this for the teachers and this and that, so on and so forth. There's so many people behind the scenes who are working tirelessly to help our students. So the big thing for me is making sure we're highlighting some of those people, right? You are one of those people. So I definitely want to make sure that we highlighted you. So
Thank you.
all right,
Thank you.
Mr. Ringo, I appreciate you. Thank you.